Hey guys, welcome to DammitDanny. I'm Danny, and this is Cole.
Hey! Hey. How's it going? Put your arms down, Danny.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
You look a fool.
Today we're here to talk about Alan Turing and the new movie that just came out about him called The Imitation Game, which it's biographical, biopic, I think is the word they use for that, and it's really good. I recommend it. Cole recommends it.
I recommend it.
We're going to get right into it. First I want to talk about who Alan Turing was as a human, because he was a real dude, since it's a biographical documentary kind of movie. So Alan Turing, when he was young, he was in school, like most young people do when they're young, and
his uncle was into fly fishing. We gotta talk about his family before we talk about his school. I have a few things of note here that I put in my notebook. His uncle was famous, actually, for his book on fly fishing. No one in the Turing family lineage had any interaction with the sciences until Turing. His brother, not much of note, didn't really go into the sciences and was not really that interested. He was born into an upper middle class English family, and his father actually was stationed in India for a good chunk of Turing's childhood.
Alan's childhood was very, I don't know,
It was odd. He didn't have a lot of support with his scientific endeavors. His family was kind of iffy on it, but he did read a book called Natural Wonders Every Child Should Know. And this, from what I can gather, was his inspiration for going into the sciences.
In school, he was very much a social sort of oddball.
He was a bit socially inept.
Mm-hmm. He was bullied a lot, and this caused him to sort of retreat into himself so as to not give bullies the satisfaction that bullies look for in getting a reaction out of someone else. So
Yeah.
he sort of took on this very withdrawn, to himself kind of persona. But at school, he did find one very good friend named Christopher Morcom.
So I have a quote. This is out of his biography on the website turing.org.uk. But it appears that the stimulus for effective communication and competition came only from contact with another very able youth a year ahead of him at Sherborne, who Alan Turing found himself powerfully attracted in 1928. He, Christopher Morcom, gave Turing a vital period of intellectual companionship, which ended with Morcom's sudden death in 1930. Christopher gave Turing a chance for a healthy companionship and competition.
Which sort of allowed him to grow.
Yeah, he pushed Turing. He not only pushed him, but he offered someone to talk to, companionship, a friend that Turing was not able to get. He just genuinely cared for Turing.
Turing felt a very strong affection for Christopher. It was more than just a friendship. This was the first time, I think, that Alan realized that he was gay. That's a very important aspect later on in his life, and so we'll come around to that after.
Turing went on to have more relationships with men other than just with Christopher, one of his fellow math students, and a man that we meet later on in the movie. During World War II, the Germans had this infamous machine that's still quoted today as one of the hardest to break code machines in history.
It was called Enigma.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say that.
Haha, right from under, you know. So Enigma,
did you want to say something, Danny?
I don't know.
So did I.
Not really.
Anyways, this machine was unbreakable. It would code and decode messages, and it would have hundreds of different settings, and it would be impossible to know which one they were. Yeah.
159 million settings.
Oh, I'm sorry, Danny. It had millions of settings, and it would be impossible to know which one that the Germans were using. Fun fact, actually, the people at Bletchley Park actually did make breakthroughs about which code the Germans were using, but the Germans would have to change and adapt. In the movie, they didn't show that. They just showed that they couldn't decode it until Turing's machine to make the importance of the scene seem more important, which it was. It was so important. It was amazing. It was
Makes the important
sexy.
seem more important.
You do this.
So they eventually cracked Enigma, figured out how to decode it, and Turing built a machine to do that. He named the machine after Christopher, the childhood friend, and it's said that cracking the Enigma code shortened World War II by up to 2 years, which is good, and it saved 1.5 million people or something like that. Estimated.
Fun fact, though, the machine in actuality was not always called Christopher. In fact, it was most commonly known as Bombay.
So after the Second World War, Turing's done with Enigma. He's sort of off doing his own thing. He comes up with the Turing test, which is basically a test to see how human-like a machine can seem via text conversation.
To pass the Turing test, the machine must have a conversation with a person unaware that he's talking to a machine, and they must remain unaware that they're talking to a machine the entire time. So imagine you're in a chat room and you're talking to someone, and it becomes very clear that they're a bot right away, immediately failing the Turing test. Now imagine talking to someone, having a full conversation with them, leaving, and it turns out they were a bot. You had no idea. That's a pass.
So after all said and done, Turing is convicted on gross indecency, which was basically the British government's way to convict gay people of being gay, because it was very much illegal in that time. So when they found that Turing was gay, they offered him either jail or hormone therapy. He opted for the hormone therapy because at least at home he can still do research and work on sort of a version of Christopher in his house.
The hormones that he was taking was estrogen injections. He couldn't just skip out on them because his doctor was administering to them directly, as well as reducing his libido, which is what the estrogen injections were supposed to do. He became very seriously depressed. In the end, he committed suicide. A big fan of Snow White, he laced an apple in cyanide and he bit into it. His mother claimed that it was an accident and that he just had cyanide on his fingers from an experiment, but the verdict was it was suicide.
A great man, hard life.
The world was not fair to him.
So that's his life in a nutshell. So
now we want to move on to the movie?
Yeah.
Yes, spoiler territory. Spoiler warning, if you don't want anything spoiled for you, you can skip over this. We're going to be wrapping things up in the end, so just click your annotation right here.
Or somewhere. Or here, depending on...
It's going to be right here.
Why don't we have both?
It's going to be right here, right here. We're not confused.
You've read through some of the biography.
I have, yes, I have. I've read through all of the biography.
Oh, okay, good. So how accurate would you say the movie was?
Well, Danny, okay. Pretty accurate, actually. Most things in the movie were true. Most of the inaccuracies were just things that they left out, and you can't really complain about that. Everything that they showed in the movie was a great nod to little nuances in his life. In the movie, we see him running frequently, and it's never really, explained. It's just oh, okay, he's running, this is what he does. Then he was actually really into running and rowing as well.
I think it was nice that they played monologues over those scenes.
Yeah, the monologues being him explaining what was happening in prison when he was being interrogated.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. That was an interesting way to wrap it up.
It was basically him telling the story while he's being interrogated.
It's like how Stand By Me was obituary. A eulogy. It was a eulogy, sorry. Oh.
Benedict Cumberbatch. Very impressive.
Oh my god, I was so impressed.
He plays socially inept people very well.
Crime scenes are a hard thing to nail.
He nailed it.
His actions, his body language, the way he moved.
You felt it.
It struck a chord because I could feel the panic. I've been in that situation where you're that panic, that just terror, and that's he portrayed it so well and so accurate on screen. It was so convincing. It was brilliant.
It was, yeah.
So the relationship between Alan Turing and Miss Clark was wonderful. It was refreshing to see just such a genuine love between two characters. It was not romantic love. It was just two people that genuinely cared about each other.
What was like your favorite part? Like what was your favorite happening?
The interaction between Alan Turing and Miss Clark when they first met, that was wonderful. When she came in and she was being hassled by the guard, he was just like, secretaries are upstairs. And she was like, but I got this paper. And Alan Turing came in and he was like, young lady, I do not allow tardiness. And she was like, oh, he's allowing me in his class. He's a gentleman. And he's like, don't sweat it, doll.
See, I really liked the, I guess it wasn't their last interaction, but it was, when they find out that there's a spy among one of them.
Right, that was powerful.
He sort of tries to make her go back home, by pretending like he never cared about her. At first, he just tries to convince her by telling her that he's gay, and she shouldn't accept that, so she should leave, kind of. Then when that doesn't work, he resorts to, I never cared about you anyway.
And you could see the pain in his eyes.
Oh, it was
like, I never cared about you.
Like, you could tell he hated having to resort to that.
Their last interaction meant a lot to me, because it meant that they eventually got over that, and they eventually talked, and he must have apologized for that, like, because in the end, she did still care for him, and that was good.
It was really a very powerful movie.
It was an emotional movie.
Guns and action and explosions and blood and...
Oh man, there were so much gun explosions.
Boobs, action, manly things.
Okay.
So that's our 2 cents on the movie.
Say it again when the chair's not moving. I'm sorry.
That's our 2 cents on the movie. We both really enjoyed it. We recommend it. 2.5 thumbs up out of 2.75.
Don't know what that means.
Just go with it.
Sure. But I give it a Michelangelo out of Raphael. Raphael is the top, then it's Michelangelo, then it's Donatello, and then it's the other one.
So, Alan Turing, crazy, awesome dude, had a terrible life, really, through most of his time. But he changed the world. He's a pioneer of modern computing, and, you know, without him, we wouldn't have half of the things that we have today. Tune in next time, whenever that happens to be.
We'll be here. Or at least Danny will.
I will be.
Yeah, Danny will be here. Thanks for having me on, Danny.
Oh, no problem. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no,
it's been a good time.
It's been sweet, yeah.
Great. So yeah, I hope to have, I don't know, we'll see who I have.
We'll see who's next.
It's a mystery probably until the day before I film it.
It's a mystery to me.
Me too.
I'll probably be behind the camera somewhere though. Even if not like literally behind the camera, I'll probably be behind the scenes. That's why my name's gonna show up in all of the credits, right, Danny?
I'm putting credits.
This is how I actually rank the turds. It goes Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, then Michelangelo. I had it really backwards, but I just want the turtles to know how I love them.